Colton, just want to check in with you a little bit. Want to start with, if we can, just talking about your season in the NTT IndyCar series to date. Probably not the season you wanted to have, certainly, but maybe even not the one you were expecting to have. Seven-time winner in the championship, but it's been kind of tough sledding this year for you. What's in your mind? What might be contributing to that?
It's it's really hard to kind of delve into it at the moment. It's something that we'll kind of go over in the off season and make sure we kind of maybe make some adjustments. But for sure, it's been a little bit disappointing. I feel like a lot of the weekends we just haven't maximized for one reason or another. So I feel like it's a lot of kind of little thing contributing to one big thing. So, but for me, it's not one clear cut answer.
Drama's here for Colton Herta. What's happened to the Gamebridge Honda?
Oh no!
The race leader.
We saw that bodywork damage from the contact with Will Power on lap one.
Can you keep going? Can you keep going?
It's over and out. Engine is running, but it doesn't sound like it's in gear. Understand
Try to get
that
the pit lane if you can.
doesn't sound like he can get it in gear. Maybe it's clutch issues we're
I
hearing.
don't think I can.
Oh no.
I could be doing better, but there's a lot of factors involved that maybe we just haven't maximized on.
You're heading to the season finale, which this year is going to be in Monterey, a track that you like, you've done very well on in the past, including last year. That had you licking your chops a little bit to get back to a place where you guys are pretty dialed in?
For sure, for sure. It's a track that we've had really good success at. A place that the last 2 years that IndyCars ran there, we've won. We've had one and two of the poles, so it's been a fantastic track for not only me but my family. So it's always exciting to kind of get back there and see if we still have that magic package that's been working the last 2 years.
Is there anything in your dialogue with the team and the engineers and everything, where you think, obviously you're aware of what they, probably need to be doing. Anything specific you can think of, where you might say, here's where I need to improve a little bit?
For sure, for sure. I think the best thing that you can do as a driver is no matter what, kind of always blame yourself. Even if you get, maybe ran into the back of and get taken out, well, why was that guy able to get so close? Or, did I make mistakes a lot before? So I feel like that's probably the best way, instead of, being a blame thrower, just kind of being able to understand every aspect of the race and really include yourself into it and say, I did this wrong. And, it's a chain event that maybe caused this later down. So I always thought that was kind of the best positive way to look at it and make yourself better every chance that you can.
Well, no matter how experienced you are, how many years you have in the sport, every race presents new learning opportunities, and you've got to adjust and grow, clearly. In 2019, you became the youngest ever IndyCar winner.
For Harding Steinbrenner Racing, the team that was launched at Yankee Stadium last December. What a moment. It's been a story. It's been a fairy tale. This second generation driver now becomes the youngest to ever win an IndyCar. Colton Herta has done it.
Way to go.
Then later in the season at Road America, youngest ever pole sitter in IndyCar. You've run in Europe after starting in the U.S. and in the development series. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Formula One in your future now, and just kind of curious about that because it almost seems like doing 4 years in IndyCar and winning 7 races there has become a little bit of a stumbling block. Had you done some of the lower formula stuff in the U.S., like the U.S. Formula 4, that's sanctioned by FIA, where for the super license, they tend to give a little bit higher rating than they do for IndyCar. It seems a little bit upside down, but it's part of reality right now, and it looks like it's having some impact on you.
Yeah, I mean, it is a system that is flawed in some ways and may be correct in others. I can understand both sides of the argument, that they do want to protect FIA series and they want to kind of intrigue, younger drivers to go through their system, their ladder system, to get up to Formula One. But in the same way, I think IndyCar probably does deserve a little bit more recognition and a little bit better point system. But I think there are valid points to either way that you look at the side of the argument.
Well, and it's interesting too when you look at that. One IndyCar is only slightly higher than Formula Three in terms of what you get. So there's a pretty big disparity in performance there. And you look at the drivers you're up against in IndyCar. Yeah, there's great drivers in F3, but we're talking a serious national championship series here. The other thing is, the way that you can accrue additional points is you can go cherry pick and try and run Formula 2 and Formula 3 races around the globe. But that, one, is a huge financial commitment and financial drain. Two, it's a huge time drain. It just seems like there's some things that they could be doing here, to correct that a little bit. And let's be honest here, to get right now, Formula One is on a real upswing in the U.S. It would be, so great for the championship to have an American driver back in it. And, hopefully things are going to go that way. And we've been hearing rumors that there's actually almost an agreement in place. If you get those super license points waived or whatever for force majeure or whatever phrase they want to throw at it, that could still very much happen for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure exactly. I've kind of stepped back and let my dad, who manages me, handle a lot of that stuff. And I've just really focused on the last, obviously we only have one more race here in Laguna Seca, and I want to do the best that I can for my employers that I have at the moment with Andretti. And I don't want to talk about, really contracts for next year until I kind of get through that Laguna Seca race and I'm able to decompress and really understand all the aspects. Because I've been adamant with my dad that I really don't want to, I kind of want to be left in the dark on a lot of this stuff and don't really want to have it in the back of my head while I'm trying to drive a race car for the IndyCar series.
Well, and you've got to have obviously that commitment to your current team and program, and that that loyalty, that commitment is obviously very highly regarded for sure. When you went and ran and did some racing in Europe. Even at that time, was in your mind at that point, not talking specifics and contracts now, but were you looking at, yes, I'm on the path, I want to get to Formula One?
There's definitely, some thought of it. It wasn't really like, oh yeah, I'm going to make it to F1 and, this is all going to happen. It was just kind of taking it race by race, series by series, trying to do the best that I could in that series. Which is hard, when you're 15, 16 years old, like I was and how all the guys are now, to kind of keep a stable head and know that you need to perform every single weekend to get a shot, not only in Formula One, but other championships like WEC and IndyCar. So there is a lot of, talented race car drivers out there that would love to be in a position to get to Formula One. And I was, one of those guys when I was 16 over there racing in Formula 3. But it is hard to kind of deter yourself from focusing on the task at hand versus, maybe the opportunity that might come in the future, especially when you're that young.
Well, that's a really good point. Was it 2016 when you were slated to run Formula 3 and then you were, too young to run the first race? So you did another series and then went back and did some awesome F3 stuff. But that was, as you said now, 6 years ago? You were a very young guy. There's been a lot of evolution, I'm sure, personally with you, also in terms of maturity and the like. I would think you're much better placed now to have an opportunity if you got the chance to go to Formula One. From your perspective, what's the hook for Formula One? I mean, IndyCar is great racing, there's no question. But, Formula One, that world championship, is that it? Or is there something else?
I think both series are great in their own regards. They have upsides and they have downsides. And that's kind of the same in all of sport, whether you're talking MLB to NFL or, all these different series in sports, they have upsides and downsides. There was always an ambition for me to try to get to Formula One. And that's not something that I can do when I'm 32 and I'm like, hey, I want to go to Formula One. Unfortunately, that's not how it works.
Right.
Whereas in IndyCar, you can come in as a little bit of an older guy. And, I don't think there's really a difference between a 30-year-old performing in IndyCar versus performing in Formula One. But, they really do want a guy that's young to get in there early in Formula One. So they can kind of groom him into a really good, successful Formula One driver. But so that's kind of where it's at right now. Is there is an ambition for me to try to get to Formula One. If I could have it my way, would it be right
Yep.
now? I'd probably like to see out my Andretti years and race for them in IndyCar a little bit, but it's not how it works. And there's a lot of different racing, different series that I want to compete in my career. And Formula One's one of them, and the opportunity is soon, before I lose it and get too old to be able to make the jump.
Well, and it seems to me the really cool thing is that, people in IndyCar, whether it's your team, Andretti, whether it's McLaren, who you did a test for in F1, and obviously have the Arrow McLaren team in IndyCar, it's not like they're fighting for you not to go there. It looks like they're saying, if the opportunity's there, we'll help you in any way we can. That's got to be reassuring. And also, is having your father, not just as your strategist, but your business manager, but also a mentor. He went through a lot coming up through the ranks here in the U.S. He's got to be a nice touchstone to have, huh?
Yeah, for sure. He's been in pretty much every situation that I will probably go through in my racing career, and he's already done it and handled it. So it does, it's nice reassurance for that aspect, that you have somebody in your corner like him that knows, kind of the ring of everything in motorsports. And he's done that. He tested for Minardi in Formula One, so he's been over there. He's done some driving over there as well. So he does understand that aspect of it as well.
Hi, I'm Colton Herta, driving the number 26 Cambridge Honda, and I'm here to take you on a lap around Long Beach with my dad.
Hang on a second, hang on. You get to have all the fun. I'm driving this one. I know I'm getting older. I caught myself making old man noises getting in the car. It'd be more fun if we had mom in the back seat, but there's no back seat in this NSX. This was the first race you ever came to?
Mm-hmm.
You were, what, 2 weeks old?
2 weeks.
2 weeks old.
To bring the bus out.
Kind of crazy, 22 years later, and here we are.
Talking about your test, it was the year-old McLaren Formula One car that you did the test in. And in terms of pace, everything that we've heard there is, the quote is, industry insiders were, quote, seriously impressed. So that obviously speaks very well for what you did in the test. But in terms of experiencing that culture, considering the last time you were racing in Europe was 2016, 2017, and then going for a Formula One test at that level, pretty different than the IndyCar paddock?
A little bit different. Obviously I didn't get a feel for the whole paddock. It was just me there testing, and so I didn't have all the people there. It was just a kind of a small team for one car. But it was an impressive car to drive. It was really awesome, not only to get my first test in Formula One, but also to be able to do it in a race winning car. It doesn't always happen, so I was very fortunate for what McLaren allowed me to do there. And it was an awesome kind of experience for me to get that down.
And not better or worse, but what was different about driving the F1 car versus the Indy car?
It's definitely a different car handling wise. It's about 12 feet long, so it's a much longer wheelbase than an IndyCar. It's a lot bigger of a car actually, and weight similar. Power is more in the F1 car, and the torque is quite a bit higher, so it takes a little bit of a different driving style, and some of the feel of the car is a little bit different without that power steering that you don't get in IndyCar that you have in Formula One. So, but overall, it was an enjoyable experience, and both cars are pretty magic to drive.
One last question. We're looking behind you, and you've got all of those checks up on the wall from a USF 2000 and Indy Lights. Did you get to keep all that money, or was that doled out to the team?
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I don't think I got to keep a lot of it. I think it was probably split between a lot of different parties that were probably paying for my racing and different stuff at that time. But it was a cool kind of little reminder of some places that I went fast and got some pulls at.
Thanks so much, and good luck in the future, man. We'll be following you.
I appreciate the time, and it's good to talk to you guys.